time for Bible study. Yes. You ready? Good morning. Good evening. It's good evening. Yes. Good afternoon. No? Whatever time it is when this message gets to you. My name is Amber. Her name is Belle. Short for Bella Belair. We are your new best faith friends. Welcome again. It is Wednesday, which means you are back for some more wisdom. First, before we get any further, I want you to... Belle. Disruptive. No ma'am. No ma'am. No ma'am. Disruptive. Jesus, can I get it out? I want to give you a disclaimer before we go any further. That noise, air, heat, okay? It's a heater. It goes on and off depending on the temperature in the room. So you might hear it kick off. You might hear it kick on. Ignore it. Ignore it. Hopefully the music will cover it up mostly. Belle! She's going to be a problem as usual, as we see. I don't know how far we can get or how far we're going to go with Belle in the picture. She's great, wonderful. But every week, we'll see. You must stay tuned to see. Okay? Today, we are coming from the book of Mark, chapter 5. Chapter 5, moving on down the line. There are 16 chapters in the book of Mark. So we're about knee deep. About knee deep into it now. So we've learned a lot of things. We know who Jesus is. Clearly at this point, he's established his 12 disciples. We've performed a handful of miracles. The very last thing that happened is Jesus and his disciples were on very stormy waters, and Jesus just said, "Peace, be still," and the ocean calmed itself, which then had the disciples looking around like, what kind of guy has that kind of power? What's that all about? Let's inquire about that. So we're picking up right from there, starting in chapter 5. My particular text is titled, Jesus Sends Demons into a Herd of Pigs. Okay, that's from the NLT. I am going to break it down and give it to you in NLT instead of King James today. I know King James is a lot, an earful. So we're going to read from the NLT, which is a calmer version of the text. As usual, commentary is going to come in with voiceover. Amber, say, "Hey, girl."
Hey!
And before we go any further, let us pray. Dear God, it is your daughter Amber again. First, thanking you for another opportunity to come and speak to you, God. And secondly, asking you to remove me in this moment and increase the Holy Spirit in me, that you may move and do and say whatever it is that is necessary in this moment. I ask that you unlock the ears and the hearts of the people watching and listening, that they may receive something from this, and they can apply it to their lives moving forward, God. We thank you for these and all blessings that you continue to rain upon our lives. We thank you for traveling and mercies as we go up and down the dangerous highways to and from all of our destinations on a day-to-day basis, God. We thank you for the generations of knowledge and wealth that we have been exposed to. Thank you, God, for the understanding of humanity. We ask that you keep us and cover us in our daily walks as we try to be more faithful to you, God. We ask these and all other things in your name. Amen. All right. Like I said, Mark chapter 5. There are two main stories here. Jesus sends demons into a herd of pigs. That's where we're going to start off. And then a little later on, we get Jesus heals a bleeding woman and restores a girl to life. So, let's see. Now, again, remember, I was reading out my chronological initially because my chronological is placed different. As we know, most Bibles, the 66 books, are in a particular order. My chronological is not in that same order. They had grouped Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John together because in terms of the timeline of life, that those four happened in the same time. As we know Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the first four chapters of the New Testament. We have given a diagram. Look at this girl. You just hear me talking. I'm just like, oh, she's up again. Let's get it cracking. If I'm not talking, she is not bothering me. So I'm scared of her. But yes, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John is that square diagram, and we have different perspectives of similar encounters, and we were able to mirror those with where else we could find those at previously up until now. This New Living Translation that we're coming from tonight for the first time, that is a little easier to understand, also tells me where else it is found in terms of these stories that we're going to read. So this first one, the demons into a herd of pigs, is also in Matthew chapter 8 and Luke chapter 8. But it is here in Mark chapter 5. So let's dive right in. Verse 1. So they arrived at the other side of the lake, in the region of the Gerasenes. Now remember, we just came through a crazy storm, right? On a lake, apparently. And now we've reached the destination on the other side. Crazy storm, Jesus calmed it. We all watched it. Now we're here. Okay, verse 2. When Jesus climbed out of the boat, a man possessed by an evil spirit came out from the tombs to meet him. Immediately. He can't even get settled in, get a glass of water, nothing. Immediately stepped off of the boat. Can you imagine? Possessed man. Walking up to him. Verse 3. This man lived in the burial caves and could no longer be restrained even with a chain. Okay? For whenever he was put into chains and shackles, and he often was, he snapped the chains from his wrist and smashed the shackles. No one was strong enough to subdue him. 5. Day and night he wandered among the burial caves and in the hills, howling and cutting himself with sharp stones. 6. When Jesus was still and some distance away, the man saw him, ran to meet him, and bowed low before him. 7. With a shriek he screamed, "Why are you interfering with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? In the name of God, I beg you, don't torment me." Demon speaking? Demon speaking? 8. For Jesus had already said to the spirit, "Come out of the man, you evil spirit." Then Jesus demanded, "What is your name?" And he replied, "My name is Legion, because these are many of us inside this man." 10. Then the evil spirits begged him again and again not to send them to some distant place. 11. Right? Yeah. 11. There happened to be a large herd of pigs feeding on the hillside nearby. 12. Send us into those pigs, the spirits begged. Let us enter them. 13. So Jesus gave them permission. The evil spirits came out of the man and entered the pigs, and the entire herd of about 2,000 pigs plunged down the steep hillside into the lake and drowned in the water. 14. The herdsmen fled to the nearby town and the surrounding countryside, spreading the news as they ran. People rushed out to see what had happened. 15. A crowd soon gathered around Jesus, and they saw the man who had been possessed by the legion of demons. He was sitting there fully clothed and perfectly sane, and they were all afraid. 16. Then those who had seen what happened told the others about the demon-possessed man and the pigs. I'm not laughing because of the situation. I'm laughing because I always try to, as you know, put myself in the shoes of those in the story. I that's my best method of learning, is to engulf myself in what I'm reading. So just to be a person, just a random villager, if you will, you know what I'm saying, that has heard the legend of the man of legions, you know what I'm saying, the dude got a bunch of demons, he live over there in the cave, sound you crazy, you know what I'm saying, like it's right here is if you will, humor me, the Grinch, you know what I'm saying, if you will, not darker, but to be alone while everybody else, and you know, they're told not to mess with that guy, and now he's here and he's fine and he's clothed and he's fine, and they were all afraid, you know what I'm saying, just it's funny to me. Here we go. 17. And then people are now talking about why he is the way he is. It was a bunch of pigs. This dude, he was having a conversation with this dude, Jesus, the one straight off the boat. You're right, boom. Who's talking caveman, came in right up to him. What happened? They had a little boom, boom, boom. Next thing you know, a bunch of pigs, thousands of pigs, ended up running to the lake, drowning themselves. I mean, as a bystander, that's all you see. How strange. 17. And the crowd began pleading with Jesus to go away and leave them alone. Witch. He's a witch. Explanation for it. He's get him out of here. Get him out of here. We don't want it. He just killed all of the pigs we got. He just killed every last one of the pigs. He just killed. Can you understand? He just killed all the pigs. Get him out of here. 18. As Jesus was getting into the boat, the man who had been demon-possessed begged to go with him. 19. But Jesus said, "No, go home to your family and tell them everything the Lord has done for you and how merciful he has been." 20. So the man started off to visit the 10 towns of the region and began to proclaim the great things Jesus had done for him. And everyone was amazed at what he told them. What else can we take away from this? The second thing I can take away from this is the evil spirit knew who he was, he being Jesus, immediately. That in itself is again an example of his higher calling here for me. Just the legend of the man of Legion here on the mountain. This new guy, we got Jesus, who's been out here, you know, doing some crazy things, you know what I'm saying? He's out here outside just doing things we haven't heard of. Everybody's starting to hear his name more often and inquire about what it's all about, because he's doing some things. And here he goes again with a crazy thing, and this time was pushed out by the people. He did what he did. And in verse 17, the ground began pleading with Jesus to go away and leave them alone. We don't want it. Get it out of here. Don't even understand what you're shushing away. Wow. Yeah. So, moving forward, right? Moving forward. This next story is Jesus heals a bleeding woman and restores a girl to life. And I believe this takes us through the rest of the chapter. Mark chapter 5, starting from verse 21. Okay, so we've done a lot. We're traveling by boat mostly. So here we go again. 21. Jesus got into the boat again and went back to the other side of the lake, where a large crowd gathered around him on the shore. Can't get away from nobody. Just sides of the lake, people, person, crazy. Can't get away from nobody. 22. Then a leader of a local synagogue, whose name was Jairus, arrived. When he saw Jesus, he fell at his feet. 23. Pleading fervently with him. "My little daughter is dying," he said. "Please come and lay your hands on her, heal her, so she can live." 24. Jesus went with him, and all the people followed, crowding around him, because we trying to see what's going on. Here goes somebody else talking about something wrong with somebody. This dude been fixing it. Let's watch. As we all would. 25. A woman in the crowd had suffered for 12 years with constant bleeding. Now, whoa. Whoa. You're right, Bill. Whoa. You're switching this up here. Wait. We got a man who got a daughter who were on the way to go save, right? With Jesus. Crowd of people. But now you're saying in the crowd, there was a woman who was bleeding for 12 years. So you're telling me this because I guess Jesus felt it, right? Let's see what happened. 26. She had suffered a great deal from many doctors. And over the years, she had spent everything she had to pay them. But she had gotten no better. In fact, she had gotten worse. 27. She had heard about Jesus, and so she came up behind him through the crowd and touched his robe. 28. For she thought to herself, if I can just touch his robe, I will be healed. I'll read that again. For she thought to herself. She did not speak this out loud. She thought to herself. She believed within herself. She thought and understood, had the even notion to believe that if I can just touch his robe, something attached to him, not him, something attached to him, I can be healed. 29. Immediately the bleeding stopped, and she could feel in her body that she had been healed of her terrible condition. 30. Jesus realized at once that healing power had gone out from him, so he turned around in the crowd and asked, "Who touched my robe?" How magical. How incredible of Mark to emphasize. He felt that power leaving him when she did that, nudging him to ask who did that. How incredible. 31. His disciples said to him, "Look at this crowd pressing around you. How can you ask who touched me?" It's too many people. Everybody is up on you, bro. How you gonna even... Everybody is. How would you know? 32. But he kept on looking around to see who had done it. 33. Then the frightened woman, trembling at the realization of what had happened to her, came and fell to her knees in front of him and told him what she had done. 34. And he said to her, "Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace. Your suffering is over." 35. While he was still speaking with her, messengers arrived from the home of Jairus, the leader of the synagogue. They told him, "Your daughter is dead. There's no use troubling the teacher now." Whoa. The worst possible outcome here, right? I got Jesus as dad. I got Jesus and we're on the way to you, darling. My daughter is extremely bad off, sir. He has agreed to come. We're on the way. We had this little hiccup with a woman, doing what she needed to do, right? But that might have held us up because now Jesus is looking around trying to find who it is rather than getting to our daughter. But now that everything with that is straight and we're moving back to the point at hand, which is to get back to my daughter, one of my men come and tell me she's dead. Wow. But that's not it. 36. But Jesus overheard them and said to Jairus, "Don't be afraid. Just have faith." He just said my daughter was dead, bro. Don't be afraid. Just have faith. 37. Then Jesus stopped the crowd and wouldn't let anyone go with him except Peter, James, and John, the brother of James. Peter, James, and John. 38. When they came to the house of the synagogue leader, Jesus said, much commotion and weeping. Jesus saw much commotion and weeping and wailing. Of course, the little girl just died. Everybody in the room is just abrupt. 39. He went inside and asked, "Why all this commotion and weeping? The child isn't dead. She's only asleep." 40. Can you hear the controversy in that outcome of Jesus? What are you crying for? She is not dead. She is in her sleep. Sir, we just did the nose test, sir. We just did one of the eye pulls. However, they ain't no telling what their method of checking for death was back then. Something simple, you know what I'm saying? We checked the pulse. Sir, won't nothing there. We were just in there. That's why we're crying. So you're late, right? They probably thinking you crazy. We've been here. You just got here. Calm down. Pipe down, brother. 40, the crowd laughed at him. But he made them all leave, and he took the girl's father and mother and his 3 disciples into the room where the girl was lying. 41, holding her hand, he said to her, Talitha, come. Which means, little girl, get up. 42, and the girl, who was 12 years old, immediately stood up and walked around. They were overwhelmed and totally amazed. 43, Jesus gave them strict orders not to tell anyone what had happened, and then he told them to give her something to eat. Jesus. What's fascinating here for me is just, and I got stopped here at 43. Jesus gave them strict orders not to tell anyone what had happened. That feels backwards. And then he told them to give her something to eat. We can understand that. She's probably hungry. No telling how long we've been in that predicament, right? And now that our body's completely well, when you sick, you ain't eating like you would normally eat. So now that you're fine, I'm sure, yeah. Make sure you do that first before we go anywhere else. Before she does anything else, feed that little one. I get that. But don't tell anyone what happened. Are you sure, sir? That's what he said. On that. Verse 43. Jesus told the girl's parents not to spread the news of the miracle. He wanted the facts to speak for themselves. And the time was not yet right for a major confrontation with the religious leaders. Jesus still had much to accomplish, and he didn't want people following him just to see his miracles, which we can understand. Which I believe we still had anyway. I think that number would have absolutely been increased had there been that surefire moment like we got when Lazarus was raised from the dead. Because here, and that's the crazy thing. If you don't know your text, if you don't get into this book and read it for yourself, somebody could tell you that Jesus raising Lazarus from the dead was the only time that he did that outside of himself at the end. Not true. He's clearly just read a third story of a little girl who had died. However, the difference is Jesus did not want the word to get out here, because this was before its time, before it was necessary, as we read, for him to have the confrontation he ended up having from something such as that. And because of that, he purposely took 3 of his disciples, who he knew had an assignment, and wanted to give up close and personal knowledge, wisdom, and insight to, as well as the mother and father. So then they themselves, I believe, could believe for themselves, but also raise their daughter up to believe. Because again, she was still just a girl, So I could believe a part of her future, a part of her growing up would be to ask about that encounter. Ask her parents their point of views, what was happening at that point in her life. She might have been an age, and we do not know her age. But
don't do that. Don't do that. It says she was 12. Excuse me.
After the fact. So for her parents to be there, I think that was another example. Again, going back to the telephone kind of situation. how things get passed down through generations, how the news really does get spread, the good news, the small things, the deeds, the acts, and how purposeful and timeful God, Jesus actually is. It's amazing. It really is. Here's what I want you to get from this. Nothing crazy major that you should take away from this outside of being able to recall different texts. And most importantly, in this walk of faith, it is encouraging to read the stories of the power of the God we serve through his humanly body, which was given to us through his son, Jesus Christ. And I mean, that's pretty much the answer at the end of the day. Again, as you already know, we're starting with the book of Mark, and this will probably be the only book of the Bible that I do in this particular manner, this straightforward, just because it is one of the New Testaments, and I believe it's just a great book to have and know and read, to build your faith. And since this is the start of immense faith, and we're really trying to get to know each other and understand exactly what it is that we want to do here, why we're doing this in the first place, this seems to be a great place to start and to build and to grow, first in our faith and second in our brand. Well, that's a great segue, since we mentioned brand, right? I'm just doing some try-ons right now, guys. It is getting colder, which means we got to start layering, right? And the headwear is very important for both men and women, and not just for hiding bad hair days, but for keeping your ears warm, keeping your noggin warm during the colder months, and that is upon us. No more. I got my onesie on. It's upon us. We're not anticipating that any longer. So beanies should be coming to you soon. Let me know in the comments down below if you prefer the flat lay beanies like I have here. There is no bend to this, or the like traditional bend ones that have a little bit of pull here. It's a little longer, and it has most people, you can do it, the traditional ones that are longer, you know what I'm talking about, or the flat lay. Tell me what you feel about it. We're gonna eventually get to the ball caps, but we're going with seasons, right now. You need a toboggan, so let's get toboggans. I'm thinking about the seal in the middle. If you got any other comment suggestions, I am always open to that. Please. So, if there is nothing else, know that I love you. Know that I hope you have a great rest of your week. I hope this was encouraging to you. I hope you learned something that you didn't know before you got here. And I hope to see you next week. All right? Bye. Fix yourself. Get yourself. Bill, sit. Good girl. Good girl, Boop. Good girl. 26. She had suffered a great deal. What? Get your life together.